Yesterday, we're going to do a big feature when we get to the Byrne Arena because, in all fairness, some wonderful stories, Sinatra and Springsteen, Thomas Edison, and we thought we'd roll through those names, and then you, and little did we know you'd be a hero of Game 2. Let's talk about the goal as you recall it. We don't have a monitor, unfortunately, so you'll have to do this right out of the memory that you, I'm sure, have and cherish.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I got the puck from Sean Chambers coming out of our zone, and I dropped it back to him. He was surprised to get it, and then he gave it back to me. I gave it over to Bill Guerin, and he just went. He was going to shoot. He shot, got it blocked. He made a great play back to Tommy Abilene over to Sean Chambers. I just went to the front of the net, and Sean shot the puck, and the rebound came right there, and I just put it home.
Did you ever tell us a bit about yourself then? A New Jersey guy, as they say, making it to the National Hockey League with this club, and you've had a couple of great runs now with the Devils. But how did you get your start in hockey and en route to Lake Superior?
It just actually my brothers, my whole family were involved in it. I'm from Bricktown, New Jersey, and it's a big, hockey town. A couple rinks there, surprisingly, in New Jersey. But I just grew up through New Jersey, and then I got a scholarship to Lake Superior, and then here I am. I played in Utica for 2 years, in Albany for a year. And this is actually it's pretty weird because I played more playoff games than regular season.
Yeah, well, that's a good sign, though. It leads to bigger and better things. A final comment maybe on the game tonight, Jim. It was obviously a grinded-out affair, and everybody was trying to be disciplined. How did it feel to you?
It was great. I mean, it was tough at the start, There's a lot of, clutching and grabbing on both sides out there. Everyone's holding up every chance you can. Like I said, you just got to fight through it. And you get that one or two chances, and you just got to try to put them home. And it was a pretty fast-paced game, even though sometimes it might not look like that. But it's pretty fast-paced out there, and you just got to fight through it. And I'll tell you, it felt great.
What is going on, guys? Eric Swanek with Swan Hockey. Welcome to our Thursday night hangout. I am here with a good friend of mine, Jimmy Dowd. Jimmy played 17 years in the National Hockey League, won Stanley Cup in 1995 with the New Jersey Devils, played at Lake Superior State. He is the only player from New Jersey to win a high school championship, NCAA championship, and a Stanley Cup. How's it going, Jimmy?
Excellent. Well, great to be here, guys. And Swanee, thanks for having me. It's a pleasure.
Of course. Thanks for coming on. Always a good time. So
yeah. It's that brought back some great memories there. Hockey Night in Canada. Who would have thought a kid from Brick, New Jersey, back in the day, being interviewed on Hockey Night in Canada? But I'm excited to be here and just add some value to as many lives as I can.
Yep. No, that's awesome. I guess we'll get right into it. With your journey, at what point did it start to at what point did the NHL become a thought? Obviously, we talk about it all the time, play hockey because you love it and just, live in the here and now and stay focused on today. At what point did it start to be okay, this could happen?
You know what? I tell people this story all the time. I'm 55 years old. So back in the day, if you weren't from Minnesota, Massachusetts, Chicago, or Michigan, they didn't even take a chance on you. I'm a firm believer, because it happened to me, and I know this to be fact. One person can change your life forever. So everybody who's out there, whether there's one person on this listening, 10, 20, 50, 100, you just need one person to like your son or daughter. One person can change your life forever. And like I said, going back to my journey, back in the day, if you weren't from Minnesota, Massachusetts, Chicago, or Michigan, they didn't even look at you when it came to hockey. I had one school take a chance on me, and that was Lake Superior back in the day. And it was Frank Anzalone and Jeff Jackson, who actually took a chance on me. And Jeff Jackson is now, the Notre Dame, if you don't know, he's Notre Dame's head coach for 19 years. I actually just got off the phone with him a couple hours ago. He's the one that started the NTDP, the National Team Development Program, and he's been Notre Dame's head coach for 19 years now. But one person took a chance on me back in the day. I just grew up in Brick, New Jersey. I played Brick Hockey Club, Brick High School, and just kept plugging along and was playing hockey because I loved it, no other reason. And, and this one tiny school up in Sault Ste. Marie, Michigan, Lake Superior, took a chance on me, and the rest is history. So my point is, listen, just play hockey because you love it. And especially now in the U.S., it doesn't matter where you're from. It's amazing. Yeah. You could be from Louisiana, Texas, California. It doesn't matter. But back in the day, there was some prejudice, whatever you want to call it. If you weren't from those four areas, they didn't even take a look at you.
Yeah, there was your hotbeds, and it was kind of just, hey, this is where the good guys come from. And
and listen, to this day, still Minnesota thinks they're the cat's meow. Michigan thinks they're the cat's meow. Massachusetts, but again, it really doesn't matter where you come from nowadays, which is awesome. And USA Hockey does a great job. All the district camps they have, they start younger and younger now, 10, 11, 12 years old. You get in the system. And, the point is, I'm going to hammer this down tonight. Just play hockey because you love it. You know what I mean? And then, and like I said, you're doing a great job of just guiding people through this journey. You know what I mean? Hockey's grown so fast in the U.S., and it's amazing sport. And it's grown so fast, but a lot of people just don't know what to do. And that's basically why we're here tonight, guys.
Yeah, I think a lot of people like they get too ahead too, like where being that they don't know, they get into like a state of, I don't want, like, I guess panic, right? And then they just start like over here, over there, like where it's just kind of like, hey, just take a breath, relax, like there, and I think a lot of people, and and this is something that anybody that follows my content online, like they know I drive it home. A lot of people, they spend way too long trying to find the yellow brick road or the magical path instead of just focusing on just playing and getting better. And like you're saying, play because you love it. And my whole thing with people, when I talk to different players and families and stuff on the phone, is just you're always going to be best at what you love, right? You're always going to work harder when you like what you're doing, right? It's like there's something like, yeah, you can get up every day and do something you don't like and give it your all, but there's going to be that little bit of extra when you love it and you're having fun, right? The hard things aren't hard when you love it and you're having fun. And a lot of this journey sometimes can be a battle, can be a grind. And I mean, if you don't love it, I mean, some of the stuff, why do it?
Yeah, I mean, basically it all comes down to just do, again, I'm a firm believer, and I've been through it all with my boys. So, my background, for those of you that don't know, I'm 55 years old. Personally, I'll give you my whole background. I'm 55 years old, been married for 27 years, 28 this August. I got two boys, Jimmy and Anthony. My oldest son, Jimmy Dowd Jr., he's at Penn State playing college hockey, full ride to Penn State. He's a defenseman. My youngest son, Anthony, he's at ASU. He just finished up his freshman year. And I'll talk about their hockey journey tonight as well. He's a freshman at ASU, just finished his freshman year at ASU, full ride. He's a defenseman. But it all goes back to the only reason why you should be playing sports is because you love it. You want to get taught some discipline. You want to surround yourself with good people. You want to get on a team with a good coach. He doesn't necessarily have to be an expert at hockey, at baseball, whatever it is. He has to know the basic fundamentals, teach your son or daughter hard work, discipline. You're going to win some, you're going to lose some, but it has to come from within the kid. But from your son or daughter, that drive and that passion. And if they love it and they're into it, they'll get good. And the bottom line is, no matter where you come from, it doesn't matter. My two boys, listen to this. My two boys did not play AAA hockey till midgets. Full ride to Penn State and ASU. You know what I mean? They just, played hockey. They played lacrosse. They played baseball. They did soccer. They surf all the time. We live in Point Pleasant Beach, New Jersey. It's a little shore town about an hour south of Manhattan. Point Pleasant Beach. I'm from Brick, New Jersey. Point Pleasant Beach is the next town over. Bought a place here about 21 years ago, going on 21 years now. But it all goes back to just playing sports because you love it. That's it. And if your son or daughter loves it and they want to go out there every day by themselves and shoot the pucks or have a catch and all that, that's how you get good at something. Don't force them. You know what I mean? And if you're good enough, they will find you and you'll keep progressing. And then guys like Eric, there's plenty of good people out there that can help guide you. And what Eric's been doing for the last how many years, I can't tell you how many people I've sent to Eric. And right, Eric, you've helped them out, guide them in the right direction.
It's been we've had an awesome
great relationship, and that's what it's all about, guys. If I just want to talk about whatever you guys want to talk about, we'll do a Q&A, whatever questions you have, I'll answer. But again, I'm a firm believer. You just play it because you love it, and if you have that drive and desire, you'll get good at it. And if you're dominating at your level, you'll keep progressing, and that's the key. You know what I mean? My whole thing is work hard, be a good teammate. And when it comes to hockey, don't worry about goals. Don't worry about assists. Don't worry about how many saves you made. I mean, you're a goalie, right, Eric?
Yeah.
If you just work hard and be a good teammate and play hockey the right way, you'll get your goals. You'll get your assists. You'll make your saves. What are you doing to help the team win?
Yeah, 100%. And that's actually something that I got from you. I don't know, maybe when we do that boardwalk video, like a year ago, probably.
Yeah, it was a year and a half ago now.
You had mentioned that about not to worry about points and, you'll get your goals, you get your assists if you play hockey the right way. Yeah. And, it's something that I, really hit home to me, and I put something out probably last summer, just because I think that's a big thing, like where a lot of people, they do get hung up on goals and assists. And a lot of coaches tell players like, hey, don't worry about goals and assists. They don't matter, right? Where, yes, they do matter, but you shouldn't don't worry about goals and assists. Like you said, worry about playing hockey the right way, right? Because like what I tell people is if, like you said, if you're playing the right way, right? If you have somebody, if somebody calls me and they're like, hey, I got this player, he's an excellent skater. He's got excellent vision. He gets all his pucks through to the net. He's, hard to play against. He's got a great shot. He's got great hockey IQ. Okay. But like, if all that's true, it's almost impossible not put up points, right? How are you going to, how is that all going to be true and without put up points? Like, So I mean, like what I always tell people is, don't worry, don't worry about the points are the end result of producing, right? Like, don't focus on the end result of producing. Focus on producing great details, right? Focus on producing great skating, great gaps, great forechecks, great passes, great communication with your teammates, great shots on net, great hockey IQ plays. If you focus on producing those things, like you said, everything else is going to come.
Yeah, exactly. Like, here's the best part about our sport, and that's for the forwards and the D. We'll talk about goalies in a minute here, but the best part about hockey is there's so many other intangibles. Listen, you got the 1%ers at every level that are skating around everybody. They're scoring goals every game, getting us. Those are the 1%ers. Then there's everybody else. But you want to separate yourself. You know what I mean? That's why I say, listen, don't worry about, listen, everybody wants goals, wants assists. It's a great feeling, right? But don't get so hung up on that, because there's so many other intangibles that can get your son or daughter to the highest level in hockey. That's the best part about hockey. You know what I mean? There's 3 things that they look at. And this is fact, because when I was done, I played 17 years in NHL, played till I was 40 years old. And then for the first 5 years when I was done, I was working with Lou Lamoriello, the New Jersey Devils. And he had me in there every year, because back then they would bring the rookies in for a week before they had their main training camp. And he had us focus on evaluating these guys, their work ethic, their hockey sense, and their mannerisms. Work ethic, how hard you work, how you compete. Your hockey sense, I mean, everybody calls it hockey IQ now. So work ethic and hockey sense and hockey IQ. And then your mannerisms, your body language. Those are the 3 main things. The 1%ers, the kids, the guys and the girls that are skating around, everybody scoring, they're the 1%ers. There's only 1% of those. But then there's everybody else. And you can find a way to fit in at the highest levels. You just can't have a team of all scorers. You're not going to win any championships. You need a little bit of everything. And going back to the goalie situation, same thing with goalies, you know what I mean? Just your details, your focus and all that. And it is a little different with goalies, but the point is this: you can let in, as a goaltender, you can let in 4 goals one game and have the best game you've ever played. You know what I mean? You could actually have a 1-goal game against or a shutout and not play that good. Same thing as a forward in the bench. You could have 2 goals, 2 assists, be +2, have the worst game, have a worst game you ever played. But you could have no goals, no assists, be -1 or -2, and have one of the best games you've ever played. The point is, it's not the end all be all, is what we're saying here. There's so many other intangibles, and the real hockey people know that. They know that, and they look for those intangibles. That's the best part about our sport. They look for those intangibles.
Yeah, and it's a conversation I've had a couple times towards the latter part of the season. Like what you're saying, like the 1% and this, and like when you think about it, there's, how many NHL teams are there right now? 32. Okay, yeah, so
32.
Yeah,
I think
so, something like that. I think it's an even number. I think it's 32, right? So there's 6 guys on every team that don't have to change their role. They get to be top 6 forwards.
Yeah.
Right. When you think about that, right? 6 times 32, that's not a lot of people in this world that don't have to change their role. They get to go all the way to the end, being a top 6 style forward. Right. And that's something that I talked to a lot of people about, that, sooner or later, for most people, you're going to have to make a change somewhere along the way and say like, hey, what do I bring to the table? And it might not be scoring. Right. And it goes back to exactly what you just said, all those different little things that, are pieces to the puzzle that make up a team.
Yep. Yeah. There's, like you said, there's 32 NHL teams. I actually just looked, there's 32 NHL teams. Here's the best part, guys, out there for those people that are new to hockey or navigating their way through. There's 32 NHL teams. Listen, before you know it, there's going to be 34 NHL teams. There's 64 NCAA Division I hockey teams. Mark my words, before you know it, there's going to be 70 Division I NCAA ice hockey teams. Before you know it, there's going to be 80.
Probably, especially if the major junior
be
gets
100. There's the Division I, there's Division III, and then there's the ACHA, the club hockey that's exploding right now.
Yeah,
Division I, II, and III. Like, it's incredible. And here's the deal. As we go through this tonight, my whole thing is there is a place for everyone listening tonight. There is a place for your son or daughter to get 4 more years of competitive hockey, get a great education, and meet friends for life. And that's what this journey is all about. That's what it's all about. Because no matter where you come from, Russia, Canada, Toronto, Ontario, Saskatchewan, Brick, New Jersey, Minnesota, Massachusetts, Michigan, 0.00000. Add a few more zeros, 0.1% are getting to the NHL. You know what I mean? And then there's the Professional Women's Hockey League now. Same numbers. So, but my point is, and why Eric and I are doing this tonight, is to just, there's a place for everyone to get 4 more years of competitive hockey, get a great education, and meet friends for life. That's what it's about.
Yeah, I mean, and obviously, most players' dream is the NHL, right? And
yeah, definitely dream that. Why not?
Well, yeah, and like obviously, it can happen, right? It can happen.
It can happen.
But
from anywhere.
To your point, there's a way to extend your career through college, pretty much for everybody. And the one thing that I always tell people in terms of, because I get this a lot, right? Where a parent might be like, "Hey, look, I'm realistic. I know my kid's not going to the NHL," or a player might say that, and my response is always the same. I always tell them, "Hey, you don't know that, right? Like, being realistic isn't saying, 'Hey, I know my kid can't do it,' or 'Hey, I know I can't do it,' right? Being realistic is saying, like, okay, here's where I'm at today. No better, no worse. Realistically, here's where I'm at. Now, here's where I want to go. Realistically, here's what has to happen, and here's what I have to do to get there. Realistically, am I willing to do that? Am I willing to fight that fight? Realistically, am I willing to do it? Yes or no?" Right? Because to me, that thought process, people hear me say it all the time, like, hockey's no different than anything else in life. That thought process comes with anything, whether you want to go to the top of sports, you want to go to the top of academics, you want to go to the top of business. It's a few people at the top, and it's a lot of work. It's all possible, but it's a lot of work, and I like I said, I think it fits in, great with your point that, there's a way to extend, if the runner up is you're going to go have a great college career and meet friends for life and have an awesome time, like, it's not a bad place to be.
No, not at all. And everybody should have dreams and aspirations. That's what life is all about. You know what I mean? The old saying, if your dream isn't big enough that it's scaring you, your dream's not big enough. Why not dream about it? You know what I mean? I used to literally sit in my bedroom in Brick, New Jersey, when there was nobody coming out of New Jersey. Again, I'll say it for the 3rd time. If you weren't from Minnesota, Massachusetts, Chicago, Michigan, nobody was looking at you. I used to have posters on my wall. I'll never forget, of NHL players, and I would visualize myself having my own poster. And what do you know it? You know what I mean? I had my own poster. But definitely dreaming and all that is it's healthy for you.
At what point did it feel real for you? Like, at what point?
So,
did it
I was a sophomore in high school. I went to Brick High School and played Brick Hockey Club, and I broke all the records in the state when I was a sophomore in high school and got some notoriety. That was my sophomore year. And then I had all these prep schools calling, junior teams calling, and, they'd call the house. Back then, there was no cell phones. This was 1984 was my freshman year of high school. So 1985, I broke all the records. So 85/86, I had all these prep schools calling, junior teams. They'd call, and my dad would pick up, now hang up. I didn't care. I was just playing hockey and baseball with my friends, whatever, back home. And then had another great year my junior year. And then back in the day, they had a tournament called Hockey Night in Boston. They had the Chicago Showcase. So back in the day, like, how now there's all these showcases everywhere, all over the place.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Back in the day, they had the Chicago Showcase in Chicago, and it was for kids that was after their junior year of high school going into their senior year. And New Jersey put a team together for the first time. I tried out for it, made the team, went out there, and that's where Lake Superior first saw me. I tore it up. That was the only school that sort of connected with me. And then I came back home, and then that summer, my junior year going into my senior year, they had a tournament called Hockey Night in Boston. Here's how crazy life works, guys. They had a tournament called Hockey Night in Boston, and one of the kids who was on a prep school team that played on our Chicago Showcase team from New Jersey, he called me and said, Jimmy, you should try out for this Hockey Night in Boston thing. They're taking a Mid-Atlantic team, kids from New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania. I said, what is it? He goes, it's a tournament in Boston. It's, blah, blah, blah. I said, okay, give me the guy's number. I'll never forget to this day. Tim Toomey. I called him up. This was like visually like yesterday. It feels like yesterday. I personally called him up. I'm a junior in high school. Hey, Mr. Toomey, it's Jim Dowd. I want to try out for Mid-Atlantic team. All right, what position? I said forward. His exact words, well, we don't have any more forward spots. There's only spots to try out for D. I paused for a second and I said,
yeah, I'm a D now.
No. I said, you know what?
Yeah.
I said, well, you know what? I just want to try out. I don't care. I'll try out for D. He put me on the list, hung up, and back in New Jersey, there was a hockey rink called Totowa Ice World up on Route 3 in New Jersey, up in, on Route 3 up by where the Meadowlands is. So I go up to tryouts. I tried out at forward. I ended up making the team, and that was the best showcase back in the day. It was up in Boston. It was the month of August, and you'd go up there every Thursday, and you play Friday, Saturday, Sunday for 4 weeks. I finished in the top 10 in scoring with Jeremy Roenick, Tony Amante, Sean McEachran, Steve Hines, all these guys. Still, nobody took a chance on me but Lake Superior. My point is, and then Lake Superior takes a chance on me, and the rest is history. One school, one person could change your life forever. So anybody who's listening, your son or daughter, you just need one person to like you. And if your son or daughter is into this for the right reasons, no external validation, they love it, and they go outside and shoot pucks on their own, and they want to be a rink rat on their own and all that, they'll get good. And if they have some talent, they'll get really good. And if you're dominating, no matter what level you're at, if you keep dominating, you'll get found nowadays. I got found back in the day. You'll get found.
Yeah, that's one thing that I always tell people. Like, I think, the cream always tends to rise to the crop.
100%.
Or rise to the top. It might not happen instantly, but I think at the end of the day, when all is settled, you almost can't keep a good man down, right?
Yeah.
If you keep plugging and if you truly are that good, obviously, I deal with it a lot with players that are, oh, well, can I go to this league from here, that league from there? And, if you play well, for me, it's all about what I tell these guys is it's all about
playing time.
Proving to somebody that you could help them win games. If you could, they don't care where you're coming from. If they're sold that, hey, this kid could help me win games, they don't care where you're coming from, right? They listen, help them win games.
Exactly. And listen, guys, there's no fluff with Eric, and there's no fluff with me. Listen, is there politics? Yes, there's always going to be politics, but for the most part, if you're good enough, you know what I mean? If you keep plugging away and plug it and keep going, the right person will find you. And you just want to get on a team where the right level where you're going to get the most ice time. And it's a good coach who knows the basic fundamentals. Again, he doesn't have to be Toe Blake. He doesn't have to be Scotty Bowman, but a guy that knows the basic fundamentals, and he's a good human being. You know what I mean? That's who you want your son or daughter around. You know what I mean? And then you want to get playing time because that's the key. And there's so many stories when it comes to Division I hockey. USA Hockey, listen, does a lot of great things. They do a lot of things you scratch your head at. No big deal, but they do a lot of great things. And one of the things they come out with every year are the stats. 86% of all the Division I commits do not commit D1 till they're 19 and a half years old. Just let that sink in. You know what I mean? So just keep plugging away. And there's so many stories out there, success stories of kids being cut from their U18 team their first year. This and that, and they just stick with it. And then their second year, they make a U18 team. Next thing you know, they take that gap year and they develop and they make the NA or the whatever, the BC. And then next thing you know, they're playing D1 hockey. Next thing you know, they're playing pro hockey. You know what I mean? There's plenty of stories out there. Again,
everybody's path is different.
It all goes back to just playing it because you love it and you're just doing the right things.
And then you see guys that are they're off to a phenomenal, they're, shot out of a cannon. They're playing, they're getting top minutes and, maybe major junior at 16 years old or whatever. And they fizzle out, right? Everybody's path is different.
Yeah. Everybody's path is different.
And that's why,
Yeah. You know what I mean? It's hockey's unique and it's different. Like, listen, baseball, football, basketball, wrestling. You go to middle school, you go to high school, you're going right there to college. Simple as that. Baseball, same thing. Hockey's a little unique. It's a little different. The best part about hockey is it's great for the late bloomers. You know what I mean? It's great for the late bloomers. You know, because you could play till you're 20 years old, junior hockey. You know, and then go to college.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I want to, going back to what you said about politics, because like I think this is, I posted something about this not too long ago, and I think it's important for people to just to look at it in this perspective, because again, like everything, a lot of everything that I preach comes back to performance, and what's important for people to know, and again, just the mindset of everything, like. You guys want to strive, obviously, to be the best that you could be, to be a top player on your team. That's why, to Jimmy's point, it's important to go where you're going to get playing time, because are there politics in hockey? Yes, 100%. There's politics in everything in life. But here's what happens with the politics in hockey. When the political, the quote unquote political pick, when that's made, they're usually not cutting their first line center to take the political pick. They're cutting the guy that's on the bubble that they don't even know if he's going to last a month on the team anyway, right? They're cutting one of the bottom guys, right? So that's why it's important to be, playing somewhere accordingly. Like we're, to Jimmy's point, we're going to get the playing time where you're an important role on the team where, because again, then the politics don't really make a difference for you. So I just want to put that in there because it's so important that people, realize that.
Yeah. Just get that out of your head and just, you know what I mean? And again, it all goes back to, surround yourself with the right people. And if you're looking for help and guidance, you know what I mean? You're at the right place here.
And guys, I forgot to say in the beginning, fire away with any questions, comments. I see we got a few here already, but we want this to be, an interaction, not just a lecture. So by all means, anything you guys got, we got
any questions, anywhere we can help you out, guys.
Yeah. A few of them here already. So fire away. I mean, Jimmy, you want to get into Jimmy Jr. and Anthony and, kind of their
So just so guys, my boys, their path. So I played the NHL till I was 40 years old. I was married at 27, 28 years old, didn't have kids till a little bit later. My oldest son, Jimmy, saw me play quite a bit live and on TV. Anthony, not so much. I played till I was 40. My last year was with the Philadelphia Flyers, had a great season. I thought I could squeak another year out at 41. It didn't work out, whatever, no big deal. I remember the Flyers training camp facility, the practice facility in Voorhees, New Jersey. I went to training camp, was there, and the training camp. Paul Holmgren calls me in. They cut me. I had offers to coach in Edmonton, Columbus, Nashville, Philly, and Jersey right away. But I said, you know what? And Holmgren offered me. I said, you know what, Homer? Thanks, but you know what? My wife's been a trooper, 10 teams, 17 years, been all over the place. My oldest son, Jimmy, was actually a mite at the time, playing out in Westchester. He was playing for the Red Bank Generals, and he was in the Silver Six tournament in Westchester. I went right from getting cut. I went right from the rink right to Westchester, PA, to Silver Six. I started coaching my boys. So my boys played AA hockey all the way up through midgets, and people thought I was crazy. You know what I mean? But you know what? I said, you know what? I coached them all the way up, and Jimmy all the way through Bantam AA at the Red Bank Generals. Then, he went to AAA his first year midgets, and then Anthony, same thing, AA all the way up through Bantams. And the whole thing was, here's the thing, guys. Another thing that's a big fallacy. You don't need to do all this extra specific training, this and that, and all that. If you during the winter season, you have your winter's team. If you don't miss practice or games, because now it starts what? End of August. So you got September, October, November, December, January, February, 6 full months, right? It's at least 6 full months, maybe a little longer than that. If your son or daughter does not miss practice or games during that time, that's plenty of hockey. You know what I mean? Yeah, do a little extra here or there, but you don't need to go crazy. You know what I mean? Especially mites, squirts, peewees, even bantams a little bit.
You're saying in season.
In season, yeah, maybe one extra thing, but you don't need to go crazy with all that. You're not missing out. If your son or daughter doesn't miss practice ever and all that, that's plenty of hockey. Now, in the off season, when you're younger, if your son or daughter wants to go to the rink all the time, right, that's fine. But it's good to play other sports. You've heard it before. Listen, all these athletes that are in the NHL, the NBA, Major League Baseball, NFL, They can basically play every sport. You know what I mean? They're athletes.
Yeah, they're incredible
So
athletes.
it's good when you're younger to diversify and play as many sports as you can. Then I get it at a certain point. Yes, you do have to, I guess, specialize, whatever the word's called now. But don't think you're missing out. They still have to be a kid. There's plenty of that. And then you get to a certain point, you start getting into the bantam realm, where you start hitting, and that's the start of big boy hockey, bantams, midgets. Then the off ice comes in to play huge. You know what I mean? That's it's huge these days. The nutrition comes in, the mindset, all that kind of stuff. But again, it all goes back to if your son or daughter's not out there shooting pucks by themselves every day, if they're not having a catch with the baseball every day with their friends playing center ball, you know what I mean? It's got to come from within them. They got to have that passion, that drive. Can't come from you, mom and dad. Can't come from their coaches. Can't come from grandma, grandpa, Uncle Harry, Aunt Joe. They got to want to do it more than anybody. I was just talking to somebody the other day. I remember growing up, I would shoot pucks every single day. Every day. If I was inside, if I was bored, I'd go outside, shoot pucks for 10 minutes. If I go back in, get bored again, I'd go back out. But I would literally shoot pucks every day, all the time. You know what I mean? Have a catch with the baseball with my brothers, all the time. You know what I mean? Whatever. I was always doing something, athletically all the time, So the point is just, again, your son or daughter, just get into it for the right reasons and play for the right reasons. If you're in it to get my firm belief, if you're in it to get your son or daughter a scholarship, you're in it for the wrong reasons.
And you're probably going to spend more money trying to get the scholarship. Some of these people, depending on how you do it. Like some of these people, like I see the amount of money they're spending. It's like, would have been cheaper to just pay for school. But they're a lot of them are navigating it incorrectly.
Exactly. And they just don't know because they think they're missing out. The FOMO, right? The fear of missing out.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But that's where if you need help and guidance, like I said before, you earlier in this podcast, you're at the right place at the right time here,
Yeah. When you won the national title at Lake State when your junior year, right?
No. So won the state championship in high school. We beat Del Barton in 1986. That's back then. They just had one state championship.
No, I'm saying NCAA.
Yeah. So I won the state championship in high school in 1986, and then the national championship at Lake Superior. So my freshman year at Lake Superior, they brought in 12 freshmen, right? And they lost a bunch of seniors the year before. 9 of us played regularly. And that's when I was just talking to Jeff Jackson, who was my assistant coach 3 years at Lake Superior, head coach my senior year. I was just talking to him today. I talked to him about a half hour today about things. And my freshman year, 1987-88, that's when Lake Superior just started. Right before that, they started getting really good. But that's when we exploded on the scene. We surprised everybody. And my freshman year, with 9 freshmen in the lineup regularly, we won the national championship. Yep. We went to the Frozen Four with Minnesota, Maine, St. Lawrence, and Lake Superior.
And then when was it? The Devils tried to sign you before. Yeah, they tried to sign you twice, right? Like the first time you turned it down and went back to school. Right?
Yeah. So my senior year of high school, when I committed to Lake Superior, got a full ride. That's when I signed my letter of intent in November, whatever it was, January. I forget when it was, January maybe. And then that spring rolls around, and Frank Anselon, the head coach of Lake State, calls her and says, "Hey, Jimmy, you're probably going to get drafted." I'm like, "What?" I never even thought of that. You know what I mean? So back then there was 12 rounds in the NHL draft. This was 1987, and I never told anybody this story. You guys will love this. So I said to myself, I didn't tell anybody. I said, "You know what? If I did get drafted, the only team I did not want to get drafted by was the New Jersey Devils because I thought it would have been a charity pick, right?" So I'll never forget. It was like 5:15 at night. Marshall Johnston calls my house. There was no cell phones. Marshall Johnston calls my house. My dad says, "Jimmy, it's Marshall Johnston, New Jersey Devils." I pick up the phone. Right? "Hey, Jim, Marshall Johnston here, New Jersey Devils. We just drafted you in the 8th round." So right off the bat, you know me a long time now, Eric, right? I'm a glass half full guy. So right off the bat, I'm thinking to myself, "Oh, great. It wasn't the 12th round. It was the 8th round. So it's not a charity pick." You know what I mean? So I was all fired, excited. So back then they still do. So they have my rights all through college. So they could track you, your freshman, sophomore, junior, senior. After my junior year, they tried to get me to sign pro. But it took me less than 10 seconds. I loved college. We had already won a national championship. I wanted to go back. I wanted to graduate. I wanted to try to win another national championship. And I ended up going back my senior year. Look it up. We went 28 straight games without a loss. We got upset in the quarterfinals. It happens. I graduated, had a great year, ended up signing for more money, I still started in the minor leagues, but I still played 17 years. The point is, there's no rush on any of this stuff, guys. Excuse me, there's no rush on any of this stuff.
Yeah,
and I talk to people all the time now, all these parents, because my 2 boys are in college. They asked me for my advice and this and that. I said, listen, if your son's not going right to the NHL and you could still play college hockey, you don't leave college hockey. You know what I mean? Like Owen Power, Adam Fantilli, they're going to play 15 years in the NHL. They're not spending a day in the minors. You know what I mean? The point is, there's no rush for anything.
The only thing with today's game is in the salary cap era, it changed. Some of the stuff changes. Not saying that it's a bad idea to stay in school, but
but my point is, if you're not going right to the NHL,
yeah,
you don't want to stay in the minor leagues. You want to get out of the minor leagues as fast as you can.
Yeah, because I had this conversation with someone the other day, and I never really thought about it like this. Like, they told me that if with the entry level contracts in the NHL, right? Like, obviously, the sooner you put your 3 years in, the quicker you get off of them, right? So some of those guys that start their entry level later,
it doesn't even matter if
it all depends on what you want.
Yeah, if you're not going right to the NHL, my point is, if you can still play college hockey and you're not going right to the NHL, there's no reason to leave college hockey. That's all. That's just my opinion. And most kids that leave after their sophomore or junior year that are in the minors plugging away, they're miserable. They should have went back to college. You have another year to develop and closer to that degree or getting that degree. But to each his own. That's all.
No, of course. And the reason why I bring this up is just because you truly, like, you did what you're saying, right? Like, play hockey because you love it, right? Right. You wanted to stay in college. You turned down an NHL contract to stay in college, right? Like, so for anybody out there that's like, they're, questioning it, like, you did it.
Yeah, because you know how hard it is to leave school and go back and try to finish your degree? Most kids aren't going to do it.
I'd say most guys never do it.
Yeah, it's tough to do,
Yeah.
But no, I love this, you know what I mean? And what else could we talk about here? Like I said, it's well,
we got a really good question in here.
Sure.
In the comments. Says, any thoughts about skipping pay to play juniors versus just getting going at maybe at maybe a lower level college at 18? Is it a personal preference? I mean, I'd say, yeah, like, of course it's a personal preference. Like, it depends what your goals are, what your wants are, again, what the player is willing to do, right? Like, having an honest conversation with yourself, like, okay, here's my goals. Am I willing to do what I have to do to get there? The other thing, pay to play can mean a lot now. There's some very good junior A leagues in Canada that are, unfortunately pay to play now. So it also depends on what league we're talking about. I mean, I think even some BCHL teams are charging. That's a phenomenal league. I got a good relationship with Penticton in that league, and I think it was last year, I think they had 2 players drafted in the NHL draft. One of them was in the first round. So again, there's a lot of variables out in that question.
Well, here's the question.
Say, like, do your homework.
Yeah, I see the question. Any thoughts about skipping pay to play juniors versus just going at maybe a lower level college at 18?
I mean, I assume they're talking about tier 3.
Junior. Yeah, of course they are, because his pay to play juniors.
Yeah. So I'm saying even some of the tier 2.
The USHL is free, the NA is free, NCDC is free, BCHL is free, right?
Well, no, not all the BCHL.
Yeah, you know what I mean. Like the point is this, and that is like that is a personal preference for sure. But again, people ask me this question. I guess, listen, I don't know what your financial situation is. I don't need to know if it, but if you want to give your kid the access and to try to get to the highest level possible, sooner or later you have to hook up with somebody like Swan Hockey that's going to guide you and tell you, listen, at a certain point, your son's not going to play Division I. Like, I never, pardon my language, pee on anybody's parade. Everybody should shoot for the stars, right? Shoot for the stars. Have a game plan, but at a certain point, you assess it every 6 months to 12 months, right, Swanee? 6 months, 12 months, every year, assess it. Okay, now it comes to a point, listen, your son's not a Division I hockey player. So then you look at Division III or ACHA club. Here's the deal, guys. I'll give it ASU for an example. Do you know that ASU has a Division I hockey team and they have 3 ACHA division club teams? ACHA club team. Unbelievable. Great place to play hockey. They all play at Mullet Arena. It's all amazing. It's a great place. So going back to your question there, Bobcat, right? 4619, it's almost like you give it one gap year after high school and then reassess, and then you just go from there, because it depends on when your son or daughter pops. Well, it's different for girls, right? But we're talking about boys here right now. It's all of a sudden your son can take that one gap year and all of a sudden pop and get really good and have that chance to play D1 or a high level D3. But if you're really not in that realm, it's probably, depending on your financial position, whatever you want to do, it's probably a good idea just to go right and look at the club hockey teams.
And I always tell people, start doing your homework, start doing your research. And it also depends on which junior team and which college club team, right? Like you might interview with a college coach and be like, I love this guy, done. And just because of that, I'm going to play college. Where if that same coach was running a junior team, you might be playing junior, right?
And
so it also depends on the situation.
Yes. And the deal, guys, just take a look just go, like Era said, do some research on all the ACHA Division I club teams. Like Rutgers in New Jersey has an ACHA Division I club team. And I coached, my son Anthony played at the Titans. I coached his U16 team. We had a really good team. And I had a couple kids on that team, a year after that or whatever. They were like, coach, you know what? I'm not going to take a gap here. I'm just going to go to Rutgers and play club hockey. I said, okay, get ready. Make sure you're ready for tryouts. And then they call me back after tryouts. Hey, coach, you were right. I said, what do you mean? Well, I got cut from Rutgers Division I club team. I said, I told you. I said, you for those that are listening, you have no idea how good ACHA Division I club hockey is right now. It's exploding. It's very good hockey. And if you look at all those rosters, all those kids on ACHA Division I club hockey teams, for the most part, all come from junior hockey.
ACHA is definitely a better level than, a lot of it's a better level than a lot of people think.
Yes, it's
I think Liberty beat LIU a few years back, or a handful of years back.
Yep.
Could be wrong, but I think and LIU is a D1 NCAA.
Yes, it's the ACHA Division I is exploding. That's why I said there's going to be. Just look at what they're doing. Just follow the Hockey House Pod. It's amazing. Like what they're doing in club hockey right now is incredible. There's so much good hockey all over the place. But again, going back to Bobcat, that's a tough call because it's not that easy just to go right from high school, right to even a club team. It's very good hockey. I'll give you an example. A kid that I coached, on the Titans, he's in 03. He's one of my son's best friends, and he wasn't going to do any gap years. And he went right to Michigan State and he went and tried out for the club team. The club team at Michigan State, unbelievable. All these kids, they played AAA hockey for Little Caesars, for Bell Tire, for CompuWare. Like, just let that sink in for a second. You know what I mean? Like, it's good hockey. It's amazing.
I think a lot of it is better than a lot of people think. And especially the D3, like the NCAA Division III. Like I get that a lot too. Like where I'll ask a player what their goals are and they'll be like, oh, I want to play D1, but if not, I'll just go play D3. My response is always the same. Like, no. Like you won't just go play D3. You have to work your ass off to play D3. But yeah, there's so much college hockey out there. And, obviously when you're dealing with college hockey, there's a lot more that goes into it than junior hockey, right? Like obviously you have some players that they don't care about anything else but hockey. But when you're, typically for me, when I'm working, with a player in terms of college, it's like, okay, there's, we got to take into the hockey, right? But, hockey into consideration. But now it's like, okay, what about the schooling? What about the location? It's somewhere that there's a good chance you're going to live there for the next 4 years, right? The financial piece of it. There's a lot of other moving parts with college. And, some of the, a lot of the ACHA, schools probably have a lot better opportunity than a lot of the D3 schools. Like in terms, depend on what you're looking for. Like a lot of the D3 schools are smaller schools or more remote locations. There's not going to be, it's not going to be as populated, as big of a atmosphere. So there's a lot to take into consideration there that I think a lot of people,
we should start posting. The USCHO.com is a great site. The College Hockey News app's a great site. The ACHA .com. Just do all the research on that. But here's another great question from Alan Weeks. Say you don't miss any practices or games during the regular season. We just talked about that. But you're stuck with a parent coach who only played through high school, and your kid feels like he is being held back during the regular season. To compare, his summer coaches are Jared Palmer, formerly of the Minnesota Wild, and Clay Wilson, formerly of Columbus Blue Jackets, Atlanta Thrashers, Florida Panthers, and Calgary Flames in the KHL. He likes being pushed a lot harder than we do during the season. What do you recommend? What is the rest of that? Where's the rest of that?
No, I think that's the end of it. I think there's just a couple dots.
What do you recommend? Oh, what do you recommend?
I think that's the end of it. You want to take it first?
Yeah. So the bottom line is this. You know what I mean? Let me see. So what do I recommend? You know what I mean? The bottom line is this. During the regular season, treat every practice like a game, no matter what, right? You push yourself. That goes back to that inner drive, that passion. You know what I mean? As long as your coach is a good person, he knows the basic fundamentals and all that, you got practice. If you're not missing, just work your butt off. Work as hard as you can. You know what I mean? And then that's just a bonus for you in the summertime, getting those other coaches. You know, again, listen, ice time. This people ask me, Jimmy, what's a good hockey camp to go to in the summer? What's a good train? Just get on the ice. Get on the ice. You know how you want to get good at skating? You know, when your kids are younger, you know how you get good? Let your kid go public skating with his friends. No coaches, no nothing. Just skate around. You know what I mean? Switch it up. You know, kids are turning into robots these days. Too much personal training. Too much personal training. You know what I mean? Switch it up. Switch it up. Go to have your little trainer on the side, but also play shinny hockey. That's called pond hockey. You know what I mean? That's one thing we miss. You know what I mean? You know, that's definitely one thing we miss is just playing out there free with no coaches, you know. But this is like the best of both worlds. So you have your regular season. You're not missing it all, Alan, right? Your son, whatever, is not missing it all during the regular season. Then you have your summer with the coaches that, you know, quote unquote, are supposedly, you know, having your son work harder. That's great. You know, I mean, there's nothing really to say about that. You know?
Yeah, I mean, the only thing
how are you? And again, Alan, if you could write in there, how do you feel he's being held back by not being pushed? I mean, elaborate on that a little bit, Alan.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing that I would add is, like, you know, if it truly is that bad, I mean, you know, maybe look at a different place to play.
Yeah,
you know, like if it truly is that bad, I mean, you know, or if unfortunately,
kids figure it out. You'll figure it out.
There's nowhere else to go, then, you know, obviously you got to make the best with it.
And listen, guys, here's the deal on development. Think about it. That's a tricky word, development. This whatever organization it's at, all these organizations now, they pump up the kid that made it, right? They put the kid on a poster everywhere. Oh, Joe Schmo made it from, whatever team. Well, what about the other 100 kids that didn't make it? So you're telling me the coaches did a crappy job developing that kid? The point is, you're going to figure it out.
Well, it's the same thing, like even like in the North American Hockey League, right? Like the North American Hockey League, and you know, and the other junior leagues too. But you know, I say to the North American Hockey League because they get a ton of D1 commits. But you know, you'll have a team in the North American League that's like, oh, we got fit. You know, they'll be recruiting next year, and they're like, oh, we had 15 players go Division I. It's like, yeah, but you went through 85 players this year. Did you develop those 15, or did you just not stop recruiting until you found 15 Division I players? Right. So, you know, it's the same thing at the upper levels as, you know, what you're saying there.
Yeah. You know, and like I said, it all goes back to, you know, that personal drive and that commitment that you have yourself. You'll figure it out. Just get on the ice and practice and skate and work, you know, and people like yourself and myself and, you know, Jared Palmer, like Alan Weeks is talking about, Clay Wilson, you know, they can give you other intangibles for your son or for your daughter to help them out, get to that next level. Yes. But for the most part, you know, just get on the ice and work. And I think a lot of people, they look too much into it. They get too into this. It's just work hard, be a good teammate, and the rest should take care of itself.
Yeah. You definitely don't want to, you know, overanalyze it.
And don't overanalyze and overthink.
Yeah, and like, you know, and you want to make sure that you're getting everything that you can out of a specific situation, right? Like where if something seems like, okay, it's not, you know, maybe not the right situation, it's like, okay, but you know, am I doing everything correctly that I could be doing? Right? Like once you're maxing out your own effort, okay, now if it's not the right situation, yeah, maybe you look to make a move. Like I'll tell you a little, you know, quick story. I had a player one year that called me. He's like, hey, he's like, I really, I don't know if I could stay on this team anymore. I think I want to trade. And I'm like, well, what's going on? And he's like, well, our practices are, they're just redundant. They're low level. We're just doing the same thing every day. I told him, like, well, look, if you're doing the same thing every day, you should be a master at it. Right.
Yeah.
Like, it's like if you take that, that silly little drill that almost every team starts off with, that horseshoe drill, right? Skate down the ice, get a pass, give a pass to the other corner, get a pass back, come back, shoot. Right. Even in that stupid little drill that everybody's done 10 million times, there's so much to unpack. Right. And I asked the kid, I said, for instance, if you do that drill, when you start, how are your first 3 steps? How's your acceleration up the ice? How's your pass to the other line? Are you calling for the puck back, loud so the whole rink can hear you to get the puck back? When you get the puck back, are you now losing speed because you have the puck back on your stick, or are you accelerating through the neutral zone? How's your zone entry angle when you get to the other end? How's your shot on net? Is it hard? Is it accurate? Are you stopping in front of the crease for a rebound, or are you just moseying off to the corner? Right? And most guys, they don't focus on any of that. They just go through the motions, on board, right? But even in that one little drill, there's so much to unpack. And, goes back to your point, practice like it's a game, right? But a lot of people, they miss out on those opportunities to develop because they just, I think a lot of players don't realize it. And then other guys just, they just, I don't know, don't care.
Guys, listen. I played for some of the best coaches in the history of hockey. Joe Quenneville, like him or not, he's one of the best coaches in the history of hockey. Played for him for the Colorado Avalanche. We did the same practice every day. Every day. We did the same drills every day. We're creatures of habit, right? You know what I mean? And every once in a while, he'd throw a couple things in there depending upon if we needed to work on extra this or that. But for the most part, he did the same drills every day. And like you said, you master at something, right? Oh, here's Alan Weeks back at this. So he feels like he is being held back, and those are his words. We can clearly see a difference in intensity. That's with the summer people, I'm sure. He said he feels like he's not being pushed or like it's a lazy practice, along with they don't correct the kids who are doing things wrong and just let them continue to be knuckleheads.
Well, I wouldn't worry about the other kids.
No. Okay, I know. But I
was saying to Alan.
Yeah. He said he's feeling not being like that. That's where he's just gotta. Yeah, Alan, I'd love to talk to you. I'd love to talk to Alan about this. But that's one of those. You know what? That goes back to the only thing you can control. What you can do. There's 2 things you can control every day of your life, no matter what: your work ethic and your attitude. So your son needs to just go in there with the right work ethic and the attitude, and do whatever the coach says. Don't worry about the other kids. You know what I mean? Just lead by example. Yeah. That's all. Lead by example.
Yep. Yeah,
I get it, and that definitely is on the coach, not correcting kids. I mean, that's one of my pet peeves, though, too. I've coached for 15 years youth hockey since I was done, and I correct kids all the time. Hey, to get things done, let's do things the right way. It's quality, not quantity.
Yeah, we got another one here. Thoughts on the NOJHL, strengths versus weaknesses.
You take that one, Eric. You're a master at those. You know everything. The ins and outs of all those leagues.
I put a lot of players in the NOJHL over the years. The NOJHL, to me, it's a make me or break me league. If you go there and you dominate, you're going to solidify your status as a legitimate tier 2 junior A player. And, you can, move, you can go to the OHL, you can go to the USHL, you can, go, maybe you want to go to the North American League or the BCHL. If you go to the NOJHL and you're average or you're below average, that's pretty much going to be where it ends, right? But why would it not? Why would you move up for being average, right? You're not going to. The NOJHL, it's on the lower end of the spectrum of tier 2 junior A, but it's still tier 2 junior A. And again, depending on what you want to compare it to, is it the North American Hockey League? No, it's not. Can it offer a better product than, a lot of the tier 3 or even most of the tier 3 in the United States? Yes. And this is like a sensitive subject in the United States, the tier 3 versus the NOJHL, right? And a lot of the tier 3 guys, they say that they're better, or they're the same. Here's the problem with tier 3. Are there some tier 3 teams that can compete in the NOJHL? Yeah, absolutely. There's crossover everywhere. There's North American League teams that could, compete in the USHL, right? But where the tier 3 definitely falls short, and definitely more the USPHL and the NA3 as opposed to the EHL, but the inconsistency and the size of the leagues, right? Like, to give you, you look at the USPHL, they had a game not too long ago. I think the final score is 37-1.
Yeah.
It's a joke, right? And it's not all, and I'm saying that particular game was a joke. I'm not saying the USPHL is a joke. But there's a lot of lopsided games in tier 3, and not all to that extent. But like, for instance, I had a player that I was moving from a top end tier 3 team to the NOJHL years ago. And, the owner of the team called me up. He's like, Eric, he's like, come on, man, how are you going to do that to me? And he's like, we're just as good as those guys. And I told him, I said, your team, yes, you guys are just as good as those guys. I said, the problem is the rest of your division is not. So in terms of development, when you guys are going and kicking the crap out of people 10-0, what's that doing for him? Right? He's going to be forced to work harder. He's going to be challenged consistently every single game up in the NOJHL. Right. And that's the exact, that's what that was my exchange with that, with that one particular team. So, is the NOJHL right for everybody? No league's right for everybody. Right. It all depends on your particular situation. And then obviously, which could be which NOJHL team we're talking about versus which other team in a different league we're talking about. And also where are you hoping to go, right? If you're a player that, is looking to play in the OHL, well, yeah, it might make more sense to play in the NOJHL than to go play in Texas somewhere. Oh, I think we lost Jimmy. See if he comes back. Yeah, we lost Jimmy for a little bit. Oh, I think he's coming back now. Get him back up here.
I'm good. I'm back.
Would you quit?
No, I don't know what happened.
Yeah, I thought we lost you there. Yes, that's kind of that's my take on the NOJHL. It's a lower end tier 2 junior A league, but it's a tier 2 junior A league, and you could definitely
Eric, talk about the NOJHL and where some of the kids out of there end up going post junior career. Canadian University, ACHA college hockey, Division III. Where do they go? Yeah,
I would say pretty much everywhere. I mean, it's definitely more of a more in that Canadian University D3 ACHA realm. Like there is the odd guy that commits Division I. And another thing, I mean, and again, I've had a lot of success with the NOJHL. Like I had a kid that committed to Wisconsin Stevens Point out of there. Won 2 D3 championships in 4 years. Went on to play pro hockey. The thing with the NOJHL and a lot of the Canadian leagues, because here's something that the tier 3 leagues will use against the NOJHL and some of the other Canadian leagues. They will argue that the NOJHL does not get as many college commitments as the tier 3 teams. Sometimes that's true, but nobody realizes why that's true. So in the NOJHL, you have a cap on how many 20-year-olds you could have. I think it's 8, right? Where tier 3, there's no cap, right? So if an NOJHL team goes 8 for 8 and sends 100% of their players Division III, they still may not have as many commitments as some of the tier 3 teams, right? The other thing to take into consideration is players that they send major junior. Those guys don't want to play D3, right? If they wanted to play college hockey, you could argue maybe they would go D1, right? But they're choosing the major junior route instead.
Yeah.
The other thing is obviously Division III, there's not as good of financial deals for Canadians. So a lot of them choose to go play Canadian University, right? So there's not as big of a player pool that wants to play Division III or that can play Division III. Meaning because most Division III commits are at 20 years old, and the NOJHL is limited on the amount of 20-year-olds that they could have. And nobody ever talks about that or thinks about that. And, the numbers get skewed. And, and I'm not, there's definitely some, really good tier 3 programs in the United States. There's definitely really bad ones, but there's definitely some really good tier 3 programs in the United States. And, so again, you want to compare the programs, and you want to compare what the players' goals are, in the future, right? Especially if it's a younger guy. Well, hey, maybe go to the NOJHL and get that first year tier 2 under your belt and hopefully move on to, either tier 1 or, higher level of tier 2. So, but yeah, that's kind of, that's my take on the NOJHL. I've had a lot of guys in it. They've had a lot of good experiences. Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, that's a great question, And again, like we've talked about, Swanee, over the years, like there's in the US right now, there's the USHL in order. The top leagues, the USHL, the North American League, the NCDC, right? And then you have the NA3, right? And then you also have the EHL and the USPHL Premier. Those, you know what I mean? And listen, the NA3, right? Correct me if I'm wrong, Eric. The NA3, the USPHL Premier, and what's the other one? The EHL. The top teams in those leagues are very good.
Yeah, interchange.
Very good. There's just a big drop off after that. So when you're looking at those leagues, you want to make sure you get into the top tier. You definitely don't want to be in the bottoms of those leagues. You're better off just going to college.
And with in terms of
Alan Weeks. So somehow I can't try to Alan Weeks. Just hit friend request me on Facebook, Alan, and we'll connect.
And then in terms of the drop off, the tightest tier 3 league is the EHL, right? The EHL is going to be the most consistent from top to bottom. The USPHL Premier and the NA3, they're just very big leagues. And there's some teams that, they're just really, really bad. But there's some very good teams. Yeah. There's some very good teams in the, in those leagues. And then underneath that too, you have the USPHL Elite and then the EHL Premier, which I know seems, the way everything's labeled, the EHL Premier is actually lower than the EHL. Those are kind of, the EHL Premier and the USPHL Elite, are the lower tiers of tier 3, if you want to put it that way. But yeah, the USHL and the North American Hockey League, those are your big two. NCDC right behind it, and NCDC, they're it's free hockey, which is great. I'll always take free hockey. They do have a league fee that you got to pay, so it's you are going to pay a little something, but you're not paying $10K or $13K to play NCDC. So, but yeah, no, in the junior landscape, there's a lot of funny things happening, I guess, a little bit. There's, I think there's going to be.
You just got to know what's going on, and that's they got to know what's going on, and that's why ask us the questions. And Swanee and I will never give you the wrong advice.
And there, I think there's going to be some changes over the years. There's talk of about 40 teams. Just rumors that there's about 40 teams ready to pull out of Hockey Canada. You got the rumors of the major junior being allowed to play NCAA, which you were talking about the amount of NCAA teams before. Imagine if the 3 major junior leagues get the okay to send their kids to NCAA. It's gonna be crazy.
Yeah.
So yeah. Anything else, guys? We're a little over an hour now. Anybody else have anything they want to add? Any questions? Any comments? Could be disagreements. You disagree with something we said, no problem. Throw it up there. But yeah, no, definitely a few good questions tonight. Great hanging out with everybody. Jimmy, anything else you wanted to
this is
share
great,
or add or?
Yeah, let me know. We should do once a week, whatever you want to do.
But it's
just talk hockey talk. That's all.
So
answer questions, helping people out, guiding people through this crazy journey of youth hockey.
So ever changing. Well, all right. Yeah, no, that's going to do it. Yeah, guys, thanks for hanging out. Yeah, no, you could check out Jimmy. It's jimdowd.com, right?
Yeah. Jimdowd.com. Yep. Check out my website. I do post NHL career. Like I said, I coach youth hockey forever. I'm done with that. I'm traveling around seeing my boys. I do nutrition and performance mindset coaching for youth athletes. So, but you can check out jimdowd.com. Yep. And I'm working with mainly 12 to 20-year-old athletes, right? I got NHL teams want me to work with them, college teams, but I'm focusing on one-on-one, from the performance mindset coaching and nutrition for youth athletes.
Yeah. Yep. Nope. That's awesome.
Yep.
All right, guys. Yeah. So check it out, jimdowd.com. I put a lot of stuff on, a lot of free content on social media, more about, about navigating the junior hockey landscape and everything. You, all my socials they're all at Swan_hockey, website swanhockey.com. And yeah, we'll see you guys soon. Everybody have a great night. Thanks for hanging out with us.
Thanks, Swanee. Great job.
Thanks, Jimmy. Thank you. Thanks for coming on.
Yep.
See you guys.